Hi there, in this video we'll be learning about the distance, speed and time. So I'm going to start my video with little explanation on the distance, speed and time triangle. I'm sure some of you may be familiar with this triangle, which is the speed, distance and time. So it is showing the connection that the speed is depending on the two things, which is the distance and the time. So speed depends on, I would write it down, distance and time. Okay, so what the units we use for the speed is the meter per second, the distance is in meters, and the time is in seconds. Or the next is if we would have a distance in a kilometer and the time is an hour, then we say that the unit of the speed is a kilometer per hour. Okay, so now this is a triangle. What does this triangle represents that? To find out the speed, we do this a line represents that there is a sign of a divide, and this line represents here is multiply. So this line represents is for the multiply. How we're going to split the triangle is, so we know that to find out the speed is depends on two things, which is the distance and the time. So we say that the formula of the speed is a distance over time. It means how much the particle is covering a distance over in how much period of a time. So that's the speed is. Okay, now let's say sometimes that we need to find out the distance. So if we are finding out the distance, which is this, so we can rewrite this formula in the form of distance. As I said that this line means is a multiply. So we say that the speed times the time with it. Okay, or maybe sometimes we have to find out the time. So if we are finding out what's the time is, which is this thing, so we're going to do is the distance divided by the speed. So for each of them, it's just like the same triangle, but how you're going to read it, that really it's important, and you're reading it correctly then. Now we're going to have a look to some examples that this is that convert 5 kilometer per hour into meter per second. So this is actually the exam question which came up in the exam for 3 marks. And the first thing I'm going to write it down over here is what is the conversion from the kilometer to the meter. So 1 kilometer is equals to the 1000 meter. And to go from the hour to minute, we know that I'm going to write it down now here. So 1 hour is equals to 60 minutes. And in 1 minute, there's going to be 60 seconds. So if you have to go straight from 1 hour to seconds, so you do simply these two numbers, you multiply them together, which is 60 times by 60, and that would be 3600. So 1 hour is equals to 3600 seconds. So these are the two conversions. I have written it down, which is 1 kilometer equals to 1000 meter. And then we found out what's 1 hour in terms of seconds. That would be 3600 seconds. Now, because we have got 5 kilometer and we are changing into the minutes. So we do 5 times by 1000. And we see that this hour is in the denominator. So changing the hour into the seconds means you divide by 3600. So the numerator would be 5000. The denominator would be 3600. Now what you're going to do is you just simply simplify them together, and when you simplify them together, you're going to come out with the answer, which is 5000 divided by 3600, and that would be 1.39 meter per second. You can even have the answer in terms of the fraction, which is 25 over 18. So you just simplify the zeros, and then you're having 50 over 36. You make the half of them. So when you make the half of them, would be half of that is a 25 and half of 36 is a 18. And this is what you're supposed to be getting is the speed then. So the speed is going to be, if you change that into the decimal, it would be 1.39. Leaving in a fraction form would be 25 over 18. Here we have got the next question now. This is that the distance from the fullback to the Ganby is 10 miles. Then the distance from Ganby to the Harton is 18 miles. Now Raksha is going to drive from fullback to Ganby. So fullback to Ganby is this part basically. She's going to drive from here to here. Then she'll drive from Ganby to Harton, which is this part. Now this says that Raksha leaves fullback at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to write down the time over here. So the start time is at 10 o'clock, which would be here. She drives from fullback to Ganby at an average speed of 40 miles per hour. So I'm going to write it down that the speed, I'll say that is the S1, and S1 would be 40 miles per hour. Okay. Raksha wants to get to the Horton at 10:35. Now she wants to reach here at 10:35. So reach here at 10:35. So this says that work out the average speed Raksha must drive at from Ganby to Harton. So this speed we know already. We are finding out this speed now, which is S2. We know how much is the distance, which is 10 miles. So I'm going to just take the half of the part. So I'll be starting from Fullback to Genby. So I'm writing down F to G. So I'm writing down all the information from here. So how much is the distance is 10 miles. Then we see that how much is the speed is, that is 40. If I know the distance and the speed, first I'm going to draw the triangle over here. So that would be a speed, distance and time. So this is a speed, this is a distance, and this is a time. Now using this information, we can find out how much is the time. So to find out time, what the formula will be having is distance over speed. So distance over speed, how much is the distance of 10 miles? The speed is of 40. Okay, so when I divide them together, that would be a quarter, which is 0.25. So the time is 0.25. If I convert that into the seconds, which would be 15 minutes then. When I convert it into the minutes, it would be 15 minutes then. Okay, now the duration from Fullback to Genby is 15 minutes. If Raksha wants to reach here at 10:35, it means the total time she'll be taking is 35 minutes. Should be the total time. All right. So now 15 minutes she has got used already. Now the remaining time she'll be having is now would be 20 minutes. So now I'm writing down what would be from the Ganby to Horton. So we know how much is the distance from here to here. So the distance would be, I'm going to write it down. So the distance is 18 miles. The next thing is we need to find out the speed, but we know how much is the time is. So the time is the remaining 20 minutes. Okay, now what we are finding out the speed. So speed formula is distance over time. So I'm going to write down distance over time. And how much is the distance is 18. The time is 20. Okay, so if I have to write it down, because you see that the unit is what we need to find out the speed in the, I'm going to write it down. So we are looking for the speed everywhere. It's given in the miles per hour. Here we have got the time in the minutes. So to convert that into the hour, you do 20 minutes is equals to 20 over 60 in terms of the hours. So that would be 1/3 hour. So that would be 1/3 hour after the simplification. So instead of writing down the 20, I'm going to change that into the hours. So it would be 1/3 hour. So when you do 18 times by 1/3, so when you do 18 divide by 1/3, you would have 54. And then we said that the speed would be, I'm going to write it down now. So work out the average speed that she must drive from Ganby to Harton. So this speed is going to be 54 miles per hour. So this is our final answer, which is 54 then. Here we have got the question that it says that Reagan cycled 78 miles in 6 hours. So I'm going to write it down. So this is the distance which is covered, which is 78 miles, and the duration is 6 hours. Okay, so distance is 78 miles and the time is 6 hours. Okay, so this is the first information. His average speed for the first 30 miles is 15 miles per hour. I'm going to draw this line now, which will help me in understanding it. So for the first 30 miles, the total distance is covering for this. So the first 30 miles, I'm going to say that it's here. And for the first 30 miles, the speed is 15 miles per hour. So I'm going to write it down. That's S1 and that would be 15. Now, what the next thing they're saying that is the total time they take from here to here would be 6 hours. Okay, because the total distance is of 78, if the first 30, if I take away, so it would be 78 minus 30 would give 48. The remaining would be 48 miles then. Okay, so from here until there is representing the 48 miles. Work out Reckon's average speed for the last 48 hours. So we are finding out the speed over here. So if I say this is S1, basically we are finding out how much is the S2. For the first part, I would say that what we have been given is the speed and the distance. I'm going to draw a triangle over here, which is the speed, distance, and time, and we can find out how much is the time. So the formula to find out the time is, for the first part, it would be time equals to distance over speed. So because the distance is of 30 miles and the speed is 15, and that would be 2, so it means that 2 hours is the time duration. So if the first part is having, this part is having a duration of 2 hours, then the remaining part would be having a duration of 4 hours. So this is having a duration of 4 hours. To find out the average speed of the next half of the part, so we know that the formula for the speed is a distance over time, and the how much is the distance is of 48 miles, and the time is going to be the 4 hours. So how many 4 makes 48 would be 12. So it means that the speed would be 12 mile per hour. So here we have got the answer of the finding the speed for the last 48 miles would be 12 mile per hour. So here we have done the 3 different examples on using the speed, distance, and time triangle. And I hope you have found this video useful in understanding the topic. Please subscribe my channel so you'll be get more updated with the new videos. Keep watching these videos because I always try to use the exam questions and the mixed variety of the questions to make the understanding even better for you guys. Thank you very much.